Peace, peace. We are live. 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 Peace. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. We are live. We are live. 1 2 1 2. Once again, we are live. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Salute, salute, salute. Peace, peace, peace. We're gonna get to it. Gonna give it about 60 seconds or so. We're gonna get into it. Mic check 1 2. Make sure everything good. Yeah. You tuned in, salute. This is your first time here, salute. If you've been here before, salute. We're going to get right into it. All roads lead to Rome. Let's get right into it. All right. One, two, 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Let me get a thumbs up. You hear me loud and clear? Let me get a thumbs up. Pieces. Can you hear me? Let me get a thumbs up. Excellent. All right. All right, so let's get into it. All roads lead to Rome. That's a saying that's been around for eons. But with what I'm presenting tonight is more than a statement when it comes to all roads leading to Rome. Going to start with this. How many people are familiar with this? How many people are familiar with this right here? This is in the rotunda in the Capitol building, and it is called the Apotheosis. The Apotheosis ceiling within the Capitol. Thank you, sis. Apotheosis within the Capitol building. And if you zoom in, you will see some historical figures there as far as presidential historical figures from the past. You will see right in the center, seated with a blue coat with gold trim around him and two quote unquote gods around him is George Washington. And if you go through it to the right, to the bottom left of your screen, bottom left, it would be his right, the way he's seated, but the bottom left of you looking at the screen, you'll see Benjamin Franklin and a few other figures, all with different quote unquote deities. Similar to what people see in the Sistine Chapel. So you have George Washington up there and the rest of the quote unquote presidents and presidential figures on the ceiling of the Capitol building. And it's called the apotheosis, which means to make someone a god, to make someone immortal. So that's purposely done, what I do in regards to certain photos, having them cropped where you can see where I'm getting it from. So this is actually from an official site from the government. And it tells you exactly what I just mentioned in regards to where is it located. So the apotheosis of Washington in the eye of the rotunda, which is the ceiling of the dome of the U.S. Capitol, was printed in the true fresco technique by Constantino Brumidi in 1865, who was born and trained in Rome and had painted in the Vatican and Roman palaces before emigrating to the United States in 1852. A master of creating the illusion of three-dimensional forms and figures on flat walls. Brumidi painted frescoes and murals throughout the Capitol from 1855 until his death. The apotheosis of Washington, his most ambitious work at the Capitol building, was painted in 11 months at the end of the Civil War, soon after the new dome was completed, 40,000. The figures up to 15 feet tall were painted to be intelligible from close up as well as from 180 feet below. Some of the groups and figures were inspired by classical and Renaissance images, especially by those of the Italian master Raphael. So we seeing the connection between Rome and the Capitol building, but it doesn't end there. Again, all roads lead to Rome. It does not end there. It doesn't end there. Let's keep going. And again, for those that know this information, that's beautiful. This is for those that do not know the information, to help them be familiar with the information and for them to be able to make their own assessment based on the information that is being presented. If you believe, praise God. If you don't, praise God. You have your liberty, you have your freedom. So let's continue. In the central group of the fresco, Brumidi depicted George Washington rising to the heavens in glory. So was noted as the quote unquote first president of the United States as being idolized and being painted for idolatry within the rotunda of the Capitol building. So it says, in the central group of the fresco, Brumati depicted George Washington rising to the heavens in glory, flanked by female figures representing liberty and victory/fame. A rainbow arches at his feet, and 13 maidens symbolizing the original states flank the three central figures. The word apotheosis in the title means literally the raising of a person to the rank of a god, or the glorification of a person as an ideal. George Washington was honored as a national icon in the 19th century. 6 groups of figures line the perimeter of the canopy. The following list begins below the central group and proceeds clockwise. So you have 1, which is war, with armed freedom and the eagle defeating tyranny and kingly power. Second one is science, with Minerva, teaching Benjamin Franklin, Robert Fulton, and Samuel F.B. Morse. So these are quote unquote Roman gods, and they're being linked with, I guess, their mortal counterparts. Again, as the word apotheosis means, to literally raise a person to the rank of a god. That's what it means. And we see that with this presentation right there. Take a look at it. All right. Let me get the next one. As we continue. So this continues the listing of who's present in this painting on the ceiling of the rotunda within the Capitol building. Number 3, Marine, with Neptune holding his trident and Venus holding the transatlantic cable, which was being laid at the time the fresco was painted. So for those that are trying to figure out what that's talking about, the transatlantic cable, they constantly have people, quote unquote, looking up to satellites and things of that nature, when in reality, there are cables on the floor of the Atlantic that span across from this side of the earth of the Atlantic, from the Americas, across into Africa and Europe and continuing from there. It's on the ground of the Atlantic. So you can look it up. And if I'm not mistaken, there's one on the Pacific side as well. You can look this up. Commerce, number 4, with Mercury handing a bag of money to Robert Morris, financier of the American Revolution. Number 5, mechanics, with Vulcan at the anvil and forge, producing a cannon and a steam engine. So they accrediting all these advancements in technology and science and business and so forth to these Roman gods, while linking them to their physical counterparts in this painting. Number 6, agriculture, with Ceres seated on the McCormick Reaper, accompanied by America in a red Liberty cap and Flora picking flowers. The Capitol's cast iron dome was designed in 1854 by Thomas U. Walter, the 4th architect of the Capitol, who had also designed the building's north and south extensions, which I do not believe. I believe this individual was given credit for that, because the Capitol building, as well as the White House and any of the other old world buildings, were already here, which is another topic of discussion. But they were already here and they were founded. They were founded, which means someone found them. Founded is Old English for find. When someone found something, to find something. So these buildings were not built in the 1800s. They were found in this time, in the 1800s going into the 1900s, early 1900s. These buildings were already here. Again, that's another topic. Canopy suspended between them would be visible through an oculus or eye at the top of the inner dome. In 1862, Walter asked Brumati to finish the design for a picture 65 feet in diameter, painted in fresco on the concave canopy over the eye of the new dome of the U.S. Capitol. It is possible that Brumati added a watercolor image of his final canopy design over a tentative sketch on Walter's 1859 drawing at this time. So just giving a history of the apotheosis. Again, as I go to each one, we'll have this here. And you can find this yourself. You could dig this up online yourself. It's a government site. You can look at government sites. Absolutely can. How else would you know what's going on if you don't look? So you absolutely can look at government sites. They have websites for a reason. They put information out all the time and hide things right in our faces because people are not looking. Excuse me. So let's get the next one. All roads lead to Rome. It's Capitol building. That's where this is at, on the ceiling of the dome that we see right there. It's a much greater significance to what that dome represents, which I will not be going into too much tonight. But if it be God's, and come further with more information of it. But in a nutshell, that dome represents a womb. Right across from the dome, we will find a male phallic symbol, which is an obelisk. And the way this place was designed symbolically. The way it was designed is symbolic. So this place pretty much is like a mirror to Rome. And I'm going to show you that as we keep going. I'm going to present the information and you make your assessment from there. But take a look at it and see it's the same architecture that is coined Greco-Roman architecture or Roman architecture. But that's not what it is. Again, that's another topic of discussion and presentation. Get the next one open. That's what's in there. Remember what it means. Remember what it means. The word apotheosis in the title means literally the raising of a person to the rank of a god. Remember that. So this is a image showing, you see the Capitol building in the far back, but the obelisk, the tall structure right there, right next to, I believe that's the Lincoln Memorial. right next to that, you see the obelisk, and it lines up, is perfectly symmetric, lined up to the Capitol building, specifically that dome. So this represents a symbolism of a phallic symbol, aka a male private part, and the Capitol building, which represents a womb. Keep that in mind. And if you can't wait till next week for it, then you can go look this up yourself. I urge you to. I really do. I really do. So that's the Capitol building again. And that's it in the background with the phallic symbol in front of it. And again, that's all symbolic. That is done by design. And it looks just like the Vatican. It's just like it. And you see the phallic symbol just as you see there, the exact same way. What's in between the phallic symbol and the Capitol building is a body of water. I don't know if you call it a lake or a pool, whatever you would call it. And when you look at this one, is basically walking distance, but it's lined up the exact same way, almost like a mirror. Let's continue. Again, just look at it. Look at them. And this is another shot of, this is the Capitol building. This is in DC, right? But now let's look at this. The Vatican. Capitol building. The Vatican. Look exactly the same. Capitol. The Vatican. Let's continue. All roads lead to Rome. And that's on the dome of the Vatican. Same as the apotheosis, just with different figures, but the same idea. Same idea. All right. Again, from the Encyclopedia Britannica, apotheosis, elevation to the status of a god. The term from Greek apotheon, to make a god, to deify. Implies a polytheistic conception of gods, while it recognizes that some individuals cross the dividing line between gods and men. So this is what they were saying about George Washington. Peace, bro. Salute. That's what they're doing. So you'll subtly be worshiping George Washington. Idolatry. He's up there with the quote unquote gods. He has become a god. And he's on all your dollar bills. So that's what they did. Elevation to the status of a god. That's what they did. Let's continue. There's more evidence that I have to present the case. So we see what the obelisk is a phallic symbol, a symbol or representation of the penis. So that's not something I just said. It's actually what it is. That's what the obelisk is. And for those that need help in knowing what an obelisk is, we just presented it. Let me see here. We see it's called phallic architecture. So that image is a phallic symbol. Anything that's like that, any image that you see that's short like that or long, tall ones that we see like the Washington Monument or the one at the Vatican. Phallic architecture consciously or unconsciously creates a symbolic representation of the human penis. Buildings intentionally or unintentionally resembling the human penis are a source of amusement to locals and tourists in various places around the world. Deliberate phallic imagery is found in ancient cultures and in the links to ancient cultures found in traditional artifacts. The ancient Greeks and Romans celebrated phallic festivals and built a shrine with an erect phallus to honor Hermes, messenger of the gods. Those figures may be related to the ancient Egyptian deity Min, who was depicted holding his erect phallus. Figures of women with a phallus for a head have been found across Greece and Yugoslavia. Phallic symbolism was prevalent in the architectural tradition of ancient Babylon. Romans, who were deeply superstitious, also often used phallic imagery in their architecture and domestic items. Ancient cultures of many parts of the Far East, including Indonesia, India, Korea, and Japan, used the phallus as a symbol of fertility and motifs on their temples and in other areas of everyday life. So you see, again, that's not from me saying it, not saying what I think it looks like. This is what it is. So it's not where it's located from the Capitol building or from the Vatican for no reason. It's there for a reason. I know you guys can read. I just enjoy reading it and going through the slides. Phallic architecture, you have some artifacts and things like that to the right. Phallic architecture became prominent in ancient Egypt and Greece, where genitalia and human sexuality received a high degree of attention. The ancient Greeks honored the phallus and celebrated phallic festivals. Just think about that for a second. The Greeks and the Romans, as we read in the last one, it was Greeks and Romans. the Romans. The ancient Greeks honored the phallus and celebrated phallic festivals. The Greco-Roman deity Priapus was worshipped as a god of fertility, depicted with a giant phallus in numerous public architectural pieces. The Greeks regularly built a shrine, which they called Herm, at the entrance of major public buildings, homes, and along roads to honor Hermes, messenger of the gods. The shrines typically took the form of a vertical pillar topped by the bearded head of a man, and from the surface of the pillar below the head, an erect phallus protruded. It is believed that they sought their inspiration from the ancient Egyptians and their phallic image of Men, the valley god, who is similarly depicted as a standing bearded king with a simplified body, one arm raised, the other hand holding his erect phallus. Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, documented women carrying large phallic-shaped monuments and ornaments the size of a human body in villages in ancient Dionysia. On the land of Delos, a pillar supports a colossal phallus, the symbol of Dionysus, which is also known as Bacchus, the god of wine, which is where West Indians get Bacchanal time and Juve celebrations. This is all ancient sexual ritualistic activities. They were doing these things to honor these gods that are mentioned, which is idolatry. So you see what comes with the idolatry, with the worshiping of these gods. So that's where Bacchanal time comes from, the god Bacchus, which is also Dionysus. Phallus reliefs on buildings on such sites are also believed to have been apotropaic devices to ward off evil. The elaborate use of phallic architecture and sculpture in ancient Greek society can also be seen in sites such as Neo-Nicomedia in northern Greece. Archaeologists. So you see, that's what it is. Why do they do that? Why are they constantly celebrating the privates? So let's continue on. Again, all roads lead to Rome. Now let's really get to it. Let me leave that there. All right, here we go. I'll leave that there for a second. It's talking about Washington, D.C. This is not new information. This is information that's been here for the longest. A lot of information is purposefully suppressed. On purpose. So what do we see here? Washington was originally named Rome, Maryland. Peace, brother. If you from that area, did you notice? If not, you getting it today. And if you did, feel free to share. some information, or if I leave anything out. So again, Washington was originally named Rome, Maryland. All roads lead to Rome. Washington's hidden Roman legacy. Nestled in Washington, D.C.'s history is a surprising connection to a little known place, Rome, in Maryland. This discovery offers a unique glimpse into America's past. Rome in America, a 17th century vision. In the 17th century, a vast estate of 400 acres existed southeast of what is now Georgetown in Maryland. Owned by an Italian culture enthusiast, this land was ambitiously named Rome. The owner's passion for Italy didn't just influence the name, it shaped his vision for the new world. This estate was more than land. It was a symbol of aspiration and connection to ancient civilizations. Transitioning from European inspiration to American reality, the landowner renamed Goose Creek to Tiber Creek. The act mirrored Rome's iconic River Tiber, creating a symbolic link across continents. His vision was to merge the grandeur of ancient Rome with the budding potential of America. So the story is told. So you said thumbs down, you didn't notice? Were you aware of that? Let's get to the next one. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Oh, by the grace of God, you learned today. Let's continue. Francis Pope, the mastermind behind Rome, Maryland. Francis Pope. Sounds like they're playing switcheroo with Pope Francis. But it says Francis Pope. Okay. The mastermind behind Rome, Maryland. The visionary behind this American Rome was Francis Pope, who acquired the land on June 5th, 1663. His story, detailed in an October 7, 1883 Washington Post article, reflects a blend of ambition and whimsy. Pope took pride in his estate, often boasting about his Rome on the Tiber. His unique naming scheme wasn't just a personal quirk. It was a statement of cultural identity and historical awareness. Francis Pope's legacy extends beyond mere land ownership. He imbued his estate with a sense of historical and cultural significance. His choice to name the creek Tiber was a deliberate effort to echo the greatness of ancient Rome in the new American landscape. As his story is told. Let's continue. So let's continue. Just more proof showing this is known. This is information that's out there. You have a sister that says she did not know that, and she's from that area. She's from down there. Born and raised. And did not know this information. She said no. Did not know this information. So just some more. Originally named Goose Creek, it was renamed during the late 1600s by settler Francis Pope, who owned a 400-acre farmstead along the banks of the creek. Dubbing his land Rome, Pope renamed the creek after the Italian city's river. Using the original Tiber Creek for commercial purposes was part of Pierre Peter Charles Elephant's 1791 plan of the city intended for the permanent seat of the government of the United States. The idea was that the creek could be widened and channeled into a canal to the Potomac. By 1815, the western portion of the creek became part of the Washington City Canal, running along what is now Constitution Avenue. By the 1840s, when Washington had no separate storm drain and sewer system, the Washington City Canal had become a notorious open sewer. When Alexander Boss Shepherd joined the D.C. Board of Public Works in 1871, he and the board engaged in a massive, albeit uneven, series of infrastructure improvements, including grading and paving streets, so forth and so on. So you see, again, more proof of this area being called Rome. Let's continue. Well, what are we getting to now? Again, let me come out of here real quick, please. If you believe, praise God. If you don't, praise God. You have your liberty. You can research for yourself. You can observe for yourself and make your own assessment and decide whether or not it's valid or is it reaching. And you have your liberty to believe what it is that you choose to believe. All I'm doing is presenting the information. And all the information is credible and from credible sources. But you still have your liberty. It's a wonderful saying that was said by His Holy Majesty, the Majestic King, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And that was, blessed are your eyes because you see. There's people that see and act like they don't see. There's people that hear and act like they don't hear. And they would rather hear good things and smooth things than hear the truth. So again, there's no coincidence why there's a connection with Rome and DC and all roads leading to Rome. Just a simple search. And you can dig deeper and go deeper, but just showing that the information is available. Rome, Maryland was the original name of a community within Prince George's County, Maryland, which would eventually become Washington District of Columbia. Specifically, Rome was the original community name of Capitol Hill, upon which the United States Capitol building sits. So when I made a statement, I said it's a mirror. It was done on purpose. Even the map of the city itself, there's aerial shots that you can look up yourself if you're interested and you see this information and it's causing you to want to look further. Then you can look up aerial shots of the city of uh, DC, of city or state of DC, and you can see how the streets are designed. That some of them are designed with symbols that you can see from an aerial shot only. All kind of symbols by the elites, secret society symbols. So again, Rome, Maryland was the original name of a community within Prince George's County, Maryland, which would eventually become Washington District of Columbia. Specifically, Rome was the original community name of Capitol Hill, upon which the United States Capitol building sits. So this is not by mistake. This is not by mistake. Peace, bro. This is by design. This is by design. The seven hills of Rome. Aventine Hill. Caelian Hill. Capitoline Hill. Capitol Hill. Capitoline, Capitol Hill. Escaline Hill. Palatine Hill. Quirino Hill. Vimino Hill. So 7 hills from Rome. Now, if Rome is a mirror, to DC, then DC will have 7 hills. And they do. Yes, Washington, D.C. really does have 7 hills. Capitol Hill, Meridian Hill, Floral Hills, Forest Hills, Hillbrook, Hillcrest, Knox Hill. That's not by mistake. All roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to Rome. You got 7 hills on Rome, 7 hills in DC. Told you here, Rome, Maryland is the original name of that place, specifically Rome and Capitol Hill. All roads lead to Rome. Said to mean that all the methods of doing something will achieve the same result in the end. What happened to Rome, to ancient Rome? It rose to power, and then it eventually fell. What's going to happen to modern Rome? It rose to power and is still in power, but eventually will fall. All roads lead to Rome, said to mean that all the methods of doing something will achieve the same result in the end. All anyone has to do is go research Rome. And how was Rome? With the government, with the Senate, with the governors, and the Caesars. Exact same. Voting process, everything. Those activities that were mentioned in regards to the phallic, same thing. And worse. All roads lead to Rome. If you have eyes to see, then you can see it. If you don't, that's okay. That doesn't make you less of anything or whatever. If there's something that you don't see. So just looking at just looking at this in regards to the obelisk, the phallic symbol, even the measurements are satanic in nature. The measurements equate all to 666. So this first one, where it says it's previously measured as 555 feet and 5 inches, is 555 feet to the base, but underneath the ground is another 111 feet. It's not just this phallic symbol just right on the base on the surface. It has to have that support, and it's 111 feet down. This is information that they hide on purpose, but is the truth. And you could look this up and see it for yourself. Even the 555, you add that up and it's 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. This is what they do. This is how they disguise things and put things in public eye. But unless you know the language and are privy to the language and how they communicate, then you won't know. So it says a long-held rumor claims that the Washington Monument is 6,666 inches high and 666 inches. The latest tweet by Snopes.com. Snopes is supposed to be the end-all be-all on the internet to determine what's the truth from what's a lie. And so many people refer to that site if something is ever presented that challenges their normal way of thinking or presents information that they never heard before. So automatically it has to be crazy, or you got to be a quote unquote conspiracy theorist. So Snopes is like the mecca for everybody to go to and to shut someone down in regards to whatever they present because Snopes said so. So the latest tweet by Snopes.com states a long-held rumor claims that the Washington Monument is 6,666 inches high, 666 inches at its base. However, according to the National Park Service, those measurements aren't quite accurate. So then what's the accuracy then? What's the accurate number? Aren't quite. That leaves room for it possibly can. Aren't quite accurate is not definitive. Definitive is the measurements are not accurate. Aren't quite. That leaves room for what if, the possibility. What if? What if? So based on the other one where it gives you 555 feet, this is a calculation converting feet, 555 feet to inches, and it comes out to 666. That's not by mistake. That's not an accident. That's not an accident. To look it up yourself. Go to Calculate Me or any calculating app that's online for you to calculate and convert 555 feet to inches and tell me what you get. That's not a mistake. That's not a mistake. That is not a mistake. All roads lead to Rome. So that's pretty much the presentation for tonight. But I want to leave with something for next week. After continuing on with this topic a little bit more and then going into the next one. So I want to leave you guys with something. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Subtle. More subtle than any beast of the field. That is the truth. All right, let me get this for y'all. Let me get this real quick. All right. One second, y'all. Bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna prep it up, and what you're gonna see is something that people have said is a myth, is not true. What you're gonna see is admittance from 2 billionaires. You're gonna see admittance from 2 billionaires on valuable how valuable. I'm gonna let you see for yourself because I can't I'm not gonna give it no justice talking. You got to just see it yourself. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy, but not a theory. Two different words. They have nothing to do with one another. The word conspiracy is to conspire. There is nothing good that comes out of conspiring. Conspiring is all evil intent, malicious, malevolent intent. That's what a conspiracy is, to conspire. A theory is a guess. You see it with your own eyes, you hear it with your own ears, but you don't believe it. Well, let me play this for y'all.
Technology that Peter and I are investing in is called SCNT, which takes the egg of a young, perfect woman specimen, takes the egg and takes out the nucleus and puts our DNA in the nucleus. They just go and take it out. Painful, huh? Is it painful? Jesus. Yeah, and this is part of this genetic greatness that we don't see in any other race on the planet. These curvy, sexy black women from Africa. You girls have a kind of a monopoly on this genetic perfection, and we want some of that.
That's Peter Nygaard.
So, girls, for $100, we will pay you for your egg. I pay you $100, monkey. So how much do you want for it? Let's bid. I bid $500. Wherever I bid, he's gonna outbid me. I bought about $60,000 of the eggs. Yeah. If you have abortion, that's very valuable. Umbilical cord, and placenta, even your period blood is so rich with stem cells. Mm-hmm. When you regard it as waste, then it actually should be. It should be captured as recycled, and it shouldn't go to waste. It's life for somebody else.
You seen that? You heard that? With your own ears, saw that with your own eyes. Very, very. And that's one. That's one. of the many billionaires. It's always been about rich versus the poor. So with that, thank you for tuning in. Those that tapped in tonight, salute. Much love. Yeah, for real. For real, for real, for real. Next week, I'm gonna continue on with it. I just wanted to like give a preview of what it's about, but I got Son's whole story. Everything. I got his whole story. Where he's from and what he's done. Trafficking, molestation, all of that. And then this idea of quote unquote finding immortality. People want to cheat. People want to cheat in reaching immortality. They don't want to go through the process. And the process is being righteous. With that, I say peace, salute, Godspeed. Thank you. Much love to everybody that tapped in and tuned in. As we say, do you see what we see? It's God time. Peace.